Okay, finally got a chance to go see Home, and I really wanted to see this, especially because I got interested in it from a Tumblr post that said, you know, reasons you should go see Home. And they gave, it was, a female person of color in a leading role, diversity in the supporting cast, focus on a platonic relationship as opposed to a romantic one, and I was like, yeah, these are all very important things, so I wanted to go see it. And I really enjoyed it. It's about this alien civilization that comes to Earth, and it's, one of the aliens befriends a little human girl, and then they go on an adventure. One of the things that struck me right away was the, when the alien race, when the Boov come to Earth, it's the cutest invasion I think I've ever seen. They don't really hurt anybody. They move all of the humans on the planet to Australia. And they even, they set up colonies, and with houses, with yards and fences, and amusement parks, and they're like, welcome to your new home, and give them keys and to their houses and stuff like that. But the kids are kind of like, oh, hey, there's an amusement park, we're gonna have fun, and the adults are like, hey, wait, we don't want to live here, we don't want to this isn't our home. And, I get the feeling that DreamWorks was intentionally trying to draw connections to the Trail of Tears and other, forced migrations over human history. And what I liked about that was it was done very, it wasn't, they didn't hit you over the head with that message. Like, it's deep for a kid's movie, but there's nothing wrong with serious or sensitive material in kids stuff, as long as it's handled well. And it was handled well here because they didn't, they didn't like beat you over the head with what it means, like they did in, say, like the Lorax. And like, it is a cutesy movie, so it doesn't go too deeply into some of the darker elements that could have been explored here. But it is first and foremost, it is a story about this little alien befriending a human girl, and that part was very strong. My biggest problem with the movie was there were a lot of contrivances, just so many things that felt forced. And the setup was kind of weak, I will say that. But once the story got going, I actually really enjoyed it. So the alien race in this movie, the Boov, they're like little purple things with tentacles, walk around. They're so cute. Oh my goodness, they're so cute. But so the main character is Jim Parsons' character, and he's this oddball among his peers. He doesn't fit in. Nobody seems to like him. And I saw this movie with my mom, and she pointed out afterwards, this idea of the one who doesn't fit in, it's been done so much by this point, and it really has. And I'm not saying that that's a bad, like, I welcome a message like that, but it has been done so much at this point that you need to bring something fresh to the table if you're gonna do a message like that. I don't know if it's not the most original take on the concept, but it's executed well. I guess the thing about it is, the human girl, Gratuity, who goes by Tip, and it took me a long time to get that, I'm ashamed to say. But she, she tells, as the girl and the alien start to bond, she tells him, I never felt like I fit in with the other kids. I was always kind of left out. And it's a feeling that a lot of kids do get. Not to discount it, but it's actually, like, feeling like you don't fit in is really common among humans. The thing about is he's clearly different from everybody else, and you can do that with an alien race, where you can make everybody just kind of homogenous and they all have the same thought processes, and here's the thing, they make a big deal out of O being unique. And he's supposed to be this free thinker, like he's constantly asking, he calls all the other Boov his neighbors, and they're like, Boov don't have neighbors, Boov don't have friends, and he's like, well, sure we can all be friends, and he's the freak who wants to have a housewarming party, and I guess it's supposed to establish that he is a free thinker, but it comes across more like he's just kind of lame and the annoying kid that nobody wants to hang out with. So, that could have been executed a little better, I think. Although I have no problem with stories about people from different cultures gently learning to accept each other, and when it gets down to it, all the stuff with O and Tip was really cute and really well done. The climax was kind of rushed, at least in terms of like, okay, if you watched my old videos, like, oh gosh, when I was talking about animated movies in 2012, one of the biggest complaints I had for most of the films that I watched was a lot of them had scenes of like crowds of people who believed one thing and then had their minds changed in like an instant. And that's so weak. Like, that's not how it works. They did it in Paranorman with the scene where Norman calms down the mob. It happened in the Lorax. It happened in Brave. It happened in Hotel Transylvania. They did it in Wreck-It Ralph, where, you know, all the kids were suddenly accepting of Vanellope. It happened in, like, every movie I talked about that year, and it just, like... No, change doesn't happen that quickly, and I know in a movie you have a limited amount of time to change people's minds, but it's still annoying, and, you know, that's what happens in this movie with like, I'm trying not to spoil things, but, you know, if you've seen a lot of alien-human movies where the goal is they're going to become friends, you know, you can probably tell where this is going. The unemotional alien is going to learn that human emotions are good and you should feel things, and that's kind of the message that O has to take, and the resolution that he brings to the other aliens is weak, and it's rushed and it doesn't feel sincere. But we don't really care about that because that's secondary, and the primary focus is on Tip and O and Tip's mother, and the way that wraps up is satisfying. Like, there are a couple moments where they let the dialogue drop out and let the animation speak for what's happening on screen, and I love when films do that. They did it in Big Hero 6 a couple times, and you know, if the animation is good enough, you don't need any words to explain what's happening. And I don't, again, not to spoil things, but there was a moment near the very end of the movie where they brought that in, and it was so effective and so nice to see. The movie would not have worked if O and Tip had not been likable, because the movie really rides on their characters and their relationships, and they are. I feel like there's not a whole lot to say about Tip. She's a likable character. She's a cute, fun kid. She's, you know, savvy, spunky, can take care of herself. O was the more interesting character for me, just because of what he learns over the course of the film, and especially because of Jim Parsons' delivery. He gave a brilliant performance. Like, I can't even put it into words, but I felt everything that character was feeling on a really deep level, and it's all because of the performance that Parsons gave. And, you know, he's kind of a big name to tap for a character like this, but it was wonderful, and it worked so well. There's a sincerity and a warmth and a passion to what he did that was just wonderful to listen to. Rihanna did Tip. She was fine. I wouldn't have been able to tell you it was her, but she was fine. Jennifer Lopez was Tip's mom. She was fine. Steve Martin did the voice of the captain, and I never would have guessed it was him. But, you know, after I saw his name in the credits, I thought back. I was like, oh, that delivery was very much Steve Martin. I guess. Oh, here's like the point I was trying to make with the Boov and their unemotional nature. It'd be one thing if O was very much odd in the fact that he had these big emotions, but like if everyone else had been really stoic. But the other characters are very emotional. Like the captain gets really wild and expressive. Like think King Julian from Madagascar, turned up even further. and like even the other aliens are very expressive in what they feel. So that's why it comes across less as, oh, I'm the odd emotional one, and more as, oh, he's just the annoying character that nobody wants to talk to. So yeah, there are points that are just rushed. But the finale, the ultimate conclusion that the film draws was really enjoyable. Again, not to spoil the big climactic moment, but I loved the reveal at the very end. It was maybe not the most groundbreaking, but I didn't see it coming, and it was really good. It was just really good the way it was executed. One thing I would like to say about the Bouv is the way they animated the visual effects on their skin was amazing. Like, they did this thing where the Bouv changed color to match their emotions, which, again, expressive alien race. Emotions are not this thing, whatever. So yeah, they change color to match what they're feeling, and they establish just right away, like, O is wandering through a crowd, and every time he bumps into somebody else, like, they turn red, they like glare at him and turn red, and then slowly fade back to purple. And what I liked about that, well, they didn't like draw attention to it right away. They didn't say, oh, they change color when they're feeling different emotions. No, they just let it happen, and the audience could figure out what's going on. For as much as this movie did spell things out, there were things that just kind of were left to lie the way they are, like that. Oh, and the other thing they did was like if O was poked or touched really suddenly, there'd be like ripples like radiating out from where he was touched that would fade. Or if he was really excited, they'd have like patterns dancing over his skin, and it was gorgeous special effects work. Oh, the other thing I really wanted to point out in terms of the visuals was Tip's hair, which is a weird thing to draw attention to, but I could, like, my mom even said she couldn't take her eyes off of it, and I was mesmerized by this hair the whole time. I know when Brave came out, like, a big deal was made out of Merida's hair, and it was really impressive, but it still looked kind of fake. Like, a lot of the hair in that movie had kind of like a fakeness to it, which isn't a bad thing, but there you go. Like, there were some points in the movie where I was like, yeah, I can tell that this is computer generated. Tip's hair is the most realistic hair I have ever seen in a 3D animated movie. Like, it looked, the way it reacted when she touched it and played with it and put it up, it looked so real, and it was beautiful, it was gorgeous and wonderful. So yeah, A+ on the hair. The other thing I wanted to point out in terms of, there were points in this movie that were very subtle, and then there were points that were not subtle at all. But one of the things I loved was, you've heard of plans and payoffs, where something's introduced early on in a film, and then because it doesn't become important right away, there is a plant very early on in the movie. If it's done right, what should happen is you don't take too much notice of it. It doesn't seem important until it becomes important later on. That's a good plant and payoff. And there's a plant at the very beginning of this movie where enough attention is given to it that it feels like, okay, this is something that's important. But it goes by quick enough that you kind of forget about it almost immediately afterwards. And I didn't even remember it for the entirety of the film until it became a crucial thing in saving the day at the very end, and I loved it. Excellent plant and payoff there. It's a film that's very clearly aimed at younger children. The way the aliens are designed, they're very soft and squishy, and everything about them is round and colorful. So yeah, this is geared towards more younger audiences, but it's a very, very well executed, and maybe not the most groundbreaking ideas, but good ideas for a young audience, and ideas that are done well, I think. There are, I guess the point is, there are some grand statements about forced migration even, and fitting in and not feeling like you fit in. But they're secondary to the friendship between Tip and their relationship is the vehicle for which these ideas are expounded, as opposed to the idea being a vehicle for characters, which is more like what happened in the Lorax. Home is closer to what happened in WALL-E, where, you know, there is an environmental message in WALL-E, but it's about Wally and Eve. This movie is really about Tip and O, and that's why it's so enjoyable to watch. Yeah, I really liked it. You know, maybe some contrivances in the plot, but on the whole, very well executed movie, really enjoyable. I'd give it 2.5 stars out of 4. If you love animation, definitely check it out. If you've got kids who want to go to the if you've got kids who really want to go to the theater, take them to see this movie, because this is a really good film for them. Oh, one more thing I wanted to bring up. The new trailer for Inside Out at the very end of the film. When I first heard that Pixar's next movie was going to be about personified emotions and take place entirely in the mind of a little girl, I got so excited. Because, you know, Pixar has been kind of disappointing lately. You know, Brave was kind of disappointing. There was Cars 2, which was really awful. Not awful, but not, you know, not anything good. Pixar's turning into the sequel machine that, you know, it took Disney decades to reach, because now they've got Finding Dory coming out. And, you know, when I heard about Inside Out, I got so excited. I was like, okay, here's the chance for Pixar to push the envelope and go back to what we really love about them, that they're innovative, that they don't settle, that they try new things, and that might not work. And I just got really excited, and I liked what I was seeing so far, but this trailer has me a little worried, because from what I can understand, from what I gather, is two of the emotions end up separated from the others, and they have to find their way back to them through this like maze in the brain. They have to get back to mission control, and that's the most boring thing I can possibly think. Like, you've got personified human emotions, a concept that you could do literally anything with. And what you're gonna do is a road trip movie, like it looks like a buddy cop movie, except not without the cop part, where they're gonna have to understand each other as they go through this maze. And it looks so stale. I do not want to sit through an entire movie of two characters just being lost in a maze, trying to get back. And I'm really worried. Like, I'm really afraid that it's not going to be as fresh and as interesting as we're all hoping. But I'm trying to reserve judgment until I actually see the film, because it is still an interesting concept. And the stuff with the little girl in outside of her head could be interesting too. So we'll see. We'll have to see. But in the meantime, yeah, I really enjoyed Home. Check it out if you get a free weekend. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.